If you want to make delicious fresh mocktails at home, these are the only ingredients you need. It might look like a lot, but I'm going to break it down in a super simple A plus B formula so you know what to get next time you go to the grocery store to be prepared to make mocktails at home. In my easy two-step A plus B formula, the first step is the base. You got to have something, a larger volume of liquid to get started. So I love a club soda. You may have in the past ordered like a vodka club, or if you've ordered a Moscow Mule that has like ginger beer. And the synonymous element there is the fizziness. And so I think when we start a mocktail with something fizzy, we're kind of a step ahead for making that drink feel sort of special because that's something we might have ordered as a cocktail in the past. So, love a club soda, super simple. You can build almost any flavor on that. I also like sparkling water brands like Waterloo, natural flavors. This one's pineapple. That's a great start to build a tropical like mocktail. Bubbly is another great brand, tons of flavors. And this one is blackberry. This would be great with something like sage or mint. And you could muddle some fresh blackberries, and that would be beautiful in a nice, pretty glass. And a unique opportunity for mocktails is to make them sort of a health drink. When I was still drinking, I definitely did not think about cocktails as a health drink. But this, for example, this brand is Poppy. This is raspberry rose, and it's a prebiotic, so good for gut health. You might also find some beverages that have some adaptogens in them. So those are things that are good for like brain support. So maybe some lion's mane mushroom or things like that. So you can kind of do double duty. You can feel like you're nourishing yourself and that you're kind of doing a good thing for your brain and your body by abstaining from alcohol. But finding something fun like this, there's also kind of layers of flavor in here already, which are great. And it's low sugar. It's only 4 grams of sugar for this whole can. So those are some fun fizzy bases. Kind of the next level fizzy base might be something like a kombucha. So I like this Synergy brand quite a bit. This particular one, the trilogy, has raspberry and strawberry and lemon are the trilogy flavors that are in it. So this is a fermented beverage. It's fermented tea. And what makes this kind of a good mocktail element is it's mirrors the fermentedness that you might get in maybe like a hazy IPA or a hazy beer or a deeper flavor that you might get from a wine because those are aged and fermented products. And that's what this is. So this has layers of flavor already in it. And this whole thing only has like 12 grams of sugar. So just to kind of point out, for like women, it's not recommended that we have more than about 24 grams of sugar in a day. So this might be something that I would break up over like 2 or 3 or even 4 nights, maybe cut it with some club soda if I'm trying to keep my sugar down, especially later in the evening. We want to maybe kind of avoid some blood sugar spikes. So those are some great bases. If you're not a fizzy person, another thing you could maybe do, I like to do this seasonally. So I've made this is actually last year's batch of apple cider, and it's got local apples and cinnamon, and I put some orange peels in it and local honey. It's pretty sweet, but I would probably just add a ton of ice to this, and maybe some fresh elements like some sage would be delicious. That's a way to kind of get that flavor without the fizz if you're not a fizz person. Another option would be to do some infused water. So infused water, the options are endless. So it's usually a fresh fruit or vegetable or some herbs and water. That's it. So cucumber is a really bold flavor. This whole cucumber, I would probably put in like, a standard pitcher of water is probably about twice this size. This is, like 32, like a 64-ounce jug that you might have at home. One cucumber would be enough for that. You could also like quarter or have some citrus, plop them in there, kind of brew some fresh herbs and maybe stick that in some water to infuse. Probably allow at least 12 hours up to 24 or 48 hours. If you're working with an infused water, let's think about this. It's water. So you're definitely going to have to layer in some other flavors. But those are some great bases to kind of get you going for mocktails. That's our A element is our base. So that is going to be your first step for making your mocktail. So we had our first element, our base, kind of our liquid. Now we're going to talk about our second element, element B. You can find here on my mocktail guide. You can get it when you sign up for my email list at alenafravel.com. So that B element is going to be something fresh. And I want to go over some options for that for you. So obviously what we have hanging out here are some fresh herbs. I've got mint, I have some basil, some sage, and some thyme. So I live in a 4-season climate in Missouri, but I can grow these herbs pretty much from late March to late October. Some herbs do better in warmer and cooler temperatures, like basil is not a cool season herb, but things like thyme and rosemary are great for that. Even sage kind of starts early in the season. So adding a fresh herb goes a long way. And even at your like regular grocery store, sometimes you'll find those little like plastic packages of herbs or even like a tub. Basil a lot of times comes in like a big tub. And so even if you don't grow these herbs, you can probably get your hands on them for most of the year. A lot of your woodier ones like thyme and rosemary last longer than some of the other ones. So if you're trying to decide what to buy, those might be a good start. So some ways that you can use herbs in your mocktails, they have wonderful oils in them that need to be woken up. So what you'll want to do is to take your herb, this is thyme for example, and you want to whack it on your kitchen counter. It smells so good in here. And this goes in your cup with some ice on top of it, maybe some club soda, squeeze a lime, and you have a mocktail. So these are a really fun, fresh element that we probably don't have in like our day-to-day cooking style. That's what makes the herbs feel special. And you could do that kind of with rosemary, maybe some of your leafier stuff like your sage and your mint. You might think about muddling or putting in your blender with like a little bit of water, and you can kind of just like add that in as like a little bit of a cordial. So those are some things you can definitely do with fresh herbs year round. Some other fresh things, obviously, we have some citruses. I love citrus. It really can kind of take something boring and plain and really amp it up because of its brightness. So obviously you can cut these into wedges. And one of my more advanced mocktail videos that I have coming up, I'll be showing you how to peel the orange and flame it, make a little party trick that way. The peels have flavor and the fruit itself has flavor. Things like cucumbers, you can muddle. Love to muddle things like berries. They add a really fun, pretty element. You might want to think about adding a straw in if you're going to be muddling, because that way we don't get chunks of food in our mouth when we're trying to drink. And some other fun, fresh elements, while these aren't like, it's not plant material per se, we've got juices. One of my favorite local health food stores has like a whole wall of juices. They usually have a watermelon juice and like a carrot beet juice and carrot beet orange juice. But most grocery stores will have a no sugar added tart cherry juice. This can actually aid in sleep. So this is kind of a good nightcap mocktail, but it's going to be real fruit flavor, which is really kind of what we're going for. When you think about a craft mocktail or a craft cocktail at a bar or a restaurant, they're working with fresh ingredients. So if you can find little ways to kind of mirror that at home, it's going to go a long way to making you feel like you're having something special. So another fun ingredient to keep on hand, you're probably familiar with the little lemon and lime looking squeezy things. Well, this is the grown-up version. So this is Santa Cruz pure lime juice. Santa Cruz is the brand. I think this has a more natural flavor than the little squeezy thing. So I usually keep a lime one of these and a lemon one on hand. They are a little bit on the pricier side, but they'll last. Like this will last me 2 months. You don't need a lot because it is very concentrated natural flavor. So if we're kind of thinking about things maybe shifting a little bit to like warmer spices, this is a really fun local item. This is an elderberry elixir. All Things Elderberry is the brand. So it has layers of flavor already built in there for us. So we're dealing with raw honey, raw ginger, cinnamon, lemon, and cloves. So something like this is going to have layers of flavor built in. You don't have to work very hard. Some All Things elderberry elixir syrup with, this is actually a Tangelo, a little Tangelo squeeze, and some club soda. You have a wonderful mocktail. I still like to play with things that you might find in traditional cocktails, like bitters. Some bitters. This is a citrus bitters. You can get them in all sorts of flavors, but it's going to have like a grounded, sort of earthy flavor. So some bitters, club soda, squeeze of citrus, got a mocktail. You could build with something like vanilla and orange, the All Things elderberry, or vanilla with like a strawberry sparkling water would be delicious. These are not a must have, but I like to keep them on hand because it's an easy go to item. This is a non alcoholic spirit. This is seed lip, and the ingredients are just water, natural flavor, citric acid, and a couple preservatives, but essentially they're pretty clean preservatives as far as preservatives go. They've distilled the essence of all these plants and put it in a little bottle for you. So instead of picking all these little things, it's here. This, some citrus, maybe a splash of kombucha, you are good to go. You've got a wonderful mocktail and some club soda. There's also a warm spice one, and they have one that is called Garden, and it has like, it, predominant flavor to me is kind of pepper. And that's one other thing you can do. I talked about muddling a cucumber, muddling citrus, slicing it. You can also like muddle some, if you have some really cool peppers in your garden, and maybe make a margarita-esque drink. And one of my upcoming videos, I'm gonna be showing how to make a margarita with some apple cider vinegar. Again, we have a fermented aged product, so that's going to go to add layers of flavor. I'm going to do this and some lime juice and a couple other special elements. So one of the last things I want to talk about for adding depth and layers of flavor to your mocktails is working with essential oils. And when I talk about using essential oils in mocktails, a lot of questions come up for people. They're like, I thought those were for your body or for aromatherapy. I didn't know you can ingest them. So how you know that they're safe to eat is it will have a supplement fact on it. So doTERRA is the company that I choose to work with because I can trust their supply chain. They have a really clean way that they bring products to the market. They work directly with farmers in the region that the plants grow best. And so there a lot of times what can happen with like food products is there's like middlemen, they get cut, they get fillers added. That doesn't happen with doTERRA. So these, I put like 2 or 3 drops club soda, splash of citrus. There's just really big flavor impact. The citrus ones are made from the peels, and that's going to be a different flavor than the flesh that you might find in a citrus fruit. So to kind of recap, for our fresh elements, we have fresh herbs, we have fruit juices, we have things like a local elderberry syrup. Also, my local coffee shop makes their own simple syrups. So they use a basil one that's really delicious. So that could be something you could maybe find locally, some locally made syrups. Citrus, whether it's fresh or in a bottle, play with some bitters, play with some flavor extracts, maybe try some NA spirits, fresh herbs, and muddling things like cucumbers, strawberries, raspberries. So I'm going to talk more about how to put step A and step B together, our base and our fresh element, in my next video, kind of teaching you weeknight, easy, 101 mocktails that won't feel simple, but they will be simple for you to make.